JJ Redick becoming the Lakers' new head coach has everything to do with JJ's future and little to do about right now. Joe Mazulla has deserved big time respect after his comments following winning the championship for the NBA Finals. The Connecticut Sun, at best, maybe they're the sixth best team in the WNBA. And though the growth has been shown a lot this week in the WNBA, the downfall is around the corner. My name is Edward McFarland, named after a great man. Shout out to my mother and my grandmother for helping raise me too. Thank you for tuning in to the show this week. And special thanks to all those who checked out the first episode. I really got love for you. If you sit through the first hour and 30 minutes, I know I had a lot to get off my chest. But this week's motto is to be before you for a good time, not a long time. Let's get into the show, man. So it was recently reported this week that JJ Redick is now the Lakers head coach from a on the court move. I think the best route to take in terms of trying to win the championship is hiring a head coach that can have a great relationship, a great rapport with your star player for the Lakers. Obviously, that's LeBron James. We know that JJ Redick and LeBron, they have a podcast together. JJ Redick has had his own podcast for a while since he's retired. When you listen to the podcast Mind the Game with JJ and LeBron, you see, and even with his podcast, The Old Man and the Three and the Dunker Spot, it appears that JJ Redick has a healthy balance and understanding with the analytics, but as well as not being blindsided with analytics to know how to go in favor of what the X's and O's say you should do on a basketball court. Him having that balance between analytics and the X's and O's, I think will serve the Lakers well. It shows that from the podcast, you see that him and LeBron tend to be on the same wavelength of how they try to go about thinking the game and what they think you should do to defeat certain teams. So as it relates to trying to win the championship and having the right head coach, wanting to start there to have the right head coach in position to go win a championship, I think by far making this move for JJ Redick was the best thing to do for the Los Angeles Lakers and Laker Nation. Now, whether or not JJ Redick wins the championship for the Lakers, JJ Redick will live off being the Lakers head coach long after he's done coaching this basketball team. And here's why. When he's done coaching, he may decide to go back to being an analyst. I would like to believe while coaching, he'll still try to find a way to continue doing his podcast and things of that nature, right? So picture this, JJ Redick, he's done coaching, and now he goes back to negotiating contracts and deals for himself as an analyst. Before, when he's negotiating those contracts, it's JJ Redick, the 15-year NBA veteran, also superstar college basketball player from Duke University. He's just, negotiating as that. Now he has a new level of cachet, notoriety, and popularity to bring to a negotiating table as the Los Angeles Lakers' former head coach. That by itself, you could argue, has a great ring to it, even if you just stack that up against solely him being a college superstar and a 15-year NBA veteran. We know, as they say, La La Land, Los Angeles, California, Hollywood, the Lakers, that brings on a whole different level of mystique and attention and notoriety. And I think JJ adding not just former NBA head coach, but adding former Los Angeles Lakers head coach to his resume is going to send his value through the roof from a media standpoint when he's done coaching basketball. And apart from it helping him be an analyst if he chooses to go that way, the amount of sponsorships and deals and brands and advertisements and all of that's going to generate for his podcast, for his media conglomerate that he's building. Oh my God. When I tell you JJ is going to live off being the Lakers head coach for quite some time, I believe he can't even anticipate, or maybe he has, and that's why he decided to take this job, because he knew and understood that the value of being his head coach, it will far supersede whether he wins or loses in this role. If he wins, multiply the money that he's already going to make solely off being attached to the Lakers brand by 10x. But even if he doesn't really win and have success like that, JJ Redick is going to thrive off the newfound relationship and attachment to being the Lakers head coach. You could even argue not everybody already knows him, especially the newer generation don't know him as a college superstar. Some may not even know him as a NBA player. So some people can only identify you like as being the Lakers head coach and being somebody that LeBron seen, pointed out, and kind of like has already gave a stamp of approval to long before you got the job. JJ is winning. JJ is going to win regardless whether he wins or loses. And this is a big time move for JJ Redick in the long run. Trust me when I say it. Since Phil Jackson, the Lakers have had 6 head coaches in the past 13 years. None of them have coached more than 3 years. And even one of those coaches being Frank Vogel, who won a championship, right? So it doesn't seem like coaches stick around for a long time, as history has shown us. JJ has a 4-year deal. Right now, we don't know what the numbers in terms of the money are specifically attached to that, but it's a 4-year deal. JJ really has no prior history as an assistant coach or being on an NBA staff as a coach or an assistant coach. But nonetheless, he's gotten this opportunity, and just remember, when you see all these partnerships and brand deals attached to his podcast, The Old Man and the Three, and I would assume that he's going to still find a way to do the pod just so it doesn't lose its momentum and its mystique that it's had. He hasn't done an episode since becoming the head coach. I don't know if that's in the contract negotiations, but man, this is a great opportunity from a business standpoint for JJ to grow his media company, being the Lakers head coach. And it'll be the first time we sustain it. Like, we don't know of current head coaches that have podcasts in this like podcast boom era that we're currently in. And so that's gonna be great to see. That's gonna be real great to see how that all pans out. Last quick note, JJ Redick becoming the head coach. This makes him the 6th head coach to get hired without experience since 2010. Those other former coaches to get hired without experience who were former players are Steve Nash, Steve Kerr, Jason Kidd, Derek Fisher, and Mark Jackson. So Laker Nation, let's see what JJ talking about, man. Or let's see what the podcast is talking about. So moving over to the Boston Celtics, man, they just secured their 18th NBA championship. I was about to say WNBA. Be patient. We're gonna get there. But now the NBA, Boston Celtics, they secured their 18th championship in franchise history. They have done it in absolutely, I would say, convincing fashion. Now, I'm not gonna lie and get on here and try to bullshit y'all. I was definitely one on the opposite side of saying, man, that shit weak, man. They keep getting lucky. They done went through the Heat. The Heat was hurt. They done went through the Cavs. The Cavs got hurt with no Donovan Mitchell. They done went through the Pacers. The Pacers didn't have Halliburton for a couple games. And so I was definitely on that wave of like, man, they're just lucky. They not really having to play nobody, so on and so forth. But truly watching the game, truly appreciating the game and what the Celtics have done, they have just made it a point to stay true to who they have been trying to be all season with the 5-out offense. At times, that 5-out offense can look god awful. It can look like guys are just standing around. But with what they did with that 5-out offense versus the Dallas Mavericks, Joe Mazulla making a decision to put Drew Holiday in that dunker spot. So at that point in time, around the court, you got shooters. You have you have pointed beams from every angle of the court ready to shoot. Jrue Holiday, my X factor of this series. What did Jrue average real quick here? Jrue had 14 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists, but most importantly, the 7 rebounds in that dunker spot. Jrue ain't no 6'8", no 6'10". Jrue ain't jumping out the gym. Jrue's not no wildly, massive of a guy. So for him to thrive in that dunker spot, with averaging 7 rebounds, and not just averaging the rebounds, but Jrue had the ability to come off of that dunker spot, flash to the elbow, to the nail of the court, and all either post you down or just make the right read. Whether somebody run off a screen, Jrue could, easy dunk pass, or if he decides to, somebody else wants to penetrate, and you can swing it to the corner, for the easy three. Like I say, at times that offense could look so stagnant because it could look like guys are just standing around on the perimeter not doing nothing. But the Boston Celtics, man, they 1,010%. They executed it to magnificent perfection. They lived and died by the three. I think sometimes, most times when people say that, it has a negative connotation. However, that wasn't the case for the Boston Celtics. Living and dying by the three was a joyous statement for them, as it's led them to a NBA championship. Man, Jaylen Brown gets Finals MVP. He scores 20 plus points in 4 of the 5 games that they had. Respecting that consistency when the team needed it and Jason Tatum struggling. Got no problem with Jaylen Brown getting in Finals MVP. Got to respect that. But his team always being able to count on him for at least 20 a game. He averaged 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. But also, too, giving respects to Jason Tatum, who struggled at times with his shot. He averaged 7 assists a game, right? 22 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists a game is what Jason Tatum averaged. And he had 2 games in this series where he had 30 plus points and 10 plus assists. And you can see at times it's like, yo, we don't want to let Jason Tatum get off with the Dallas Mavericks. And instead of him forcing it, playing into the Dallas Mavericks' hands, dude just had an impeccable way of being effective, though his shot wasn't falling, with just trusting his teammates and being a facilitator, racking up on those assists. So you got to respect Jason Tatum for that. Porzingis comes off hadn't played in a month comes in game 1, gives you 20 points, off the bench, and had 18 in the first half. I mean, what Porzingis did was absolutely, like, I think it gave the Boston Celtics the needed jolt and boost that they needed for everybody to kind of just break the ice, get settled into the NBA Finals, and be like, all right, we're here now. Like, let's do what we came to do. With Porzingis in that game 1 barrage that he had. Salute and respect to the consistency of Derek White, the Al Horfords, who are just guys you could always count on to do what they need to do, especially Al Horford. I believe it's like 150 some plus maybe, but Al Horford is up there with having played the most games in NBA history, or played the most playoff games without an NBA championship. So Al Horford finally gets his championship. Derek White out there playing defense. He didn't got his teeth knocked out, giving it all he got out there on the court, man. And last but not least, bro, it's talked about a little bit, man, but I have to make sure to like highlight it here on this show because everybody may not talk about it, and that's why you want to come to this show and listen to this show, because I'm gonna make it a point to talk about things that aren't talked about but need to be talked about. I gotta give a shout out to Peyton Pritchard, bro. Peyton Pritchard didn't play a lot in this series. The most minutes he played was 22 minutes. And it was some games where like he didn't play hardly at all, if at all, right? And so for Peyton Pritchard, in game 2, end of the 3rd quarter, he hits a half-court shot, right? Game 5, end of the first half, he hits another half-court shot. And you hear NBA players talk about like finishing quarter strong, whether that's you trying to get a good shot for your team to like have some momentum going into the next quarter or the next half, or simply trying to make a shot to kill the momentum of the other team who may be on a run themselves. And Peyton Pritchard, with those 2 half-court shots, I think apart from the shots, I just think it speaks to Peyton Pritchard's mentality to stay locked in at all times. Yeah, I'm coming off the bench. Yes, the NBA Finals. Yeah, I'm not getting a lot of minutes. Could have came on the court, bullshit, not really caring, you know what I'm saying? Like not fully invested because he's not getting like buku minutes. But he comes in these games with these half-court shots, looking to make an impact with the smallest amount of time that he's been given, right? And I think, and when I see that, I don't think it just speaks to basketball and him scoring points, but I think it speaks to life just in terms of you maximizing on whatever opportunity you are given, right? And so even in that game 5 where he hits the half-court shot, Peyton Pritchard only played 1 minute. He only played 1 minute that game. And if you're not locked in, you could be pissed off, mad, frustrated, and you're feeling, motherfucker, Coach Mazulla don't want to play me. You know what I mean? Woo. But nah, a minute is what you're going to give me? All right, shit, let me see what I can do in a minute. And again, man, salute to Peyton Pritchard for just like maximizing like on the opportunities that he was given. Those half-court shots, bro, you can't quantify like the impact that those shots had. You may look at his stats and go, okay, he hit 1 3, but like, no. Don't reduce him down to him just making 1 or 2 threes, and not playing a lot of minutes. Like you can't measure the impact that those threes had in this series when you're trying to close out a quarter or you're trying to close out a half, and then you also trying to close out a quarter to go on a full quarter. The life, the electricity that he put into the TD Garden with those shots, unmeasurable, and should not in any way, shape, or form be forgotten or not valued. So salute to you, Peyton Pritchard, bro, for just making the most of your opportunity, dog. And Joe Mazulla, man, to wrap up the Boston Celtics NBA Finals run. When Joe Mazulla was being interviewed after the game, he made the comment that, hey, I understand that I'm paraphrasing, of course, but hey, I understand that I'm in this position not because of what I've done, but because of everybody before me who's laid the foundation for these guys to be who they are, from the coaches all the way up to like former trainers and so on and so forth who've been here. Brad Stevens making the trades that he's made, Ime Udoka, him being an assistant to Ime Udoka, who had the job before him. And Joe Mazulla paying his respects to like the foundation that was laid before him, and being conscious enough to acknowledge that and not just get up on a podium like me, I did this, I did that. Man, I got tremendous respect for Joe Mazulla being able to take that approach and have that consciousness to know like, oh no, let me not like get up here like on like a me tour or getting a big head or thinking like it's really because of me, but to pay homage and pay respect to those who came before you, when we all know like to a degree you inherited this team. I think that spoke a lot about his character as a person and as a coach. And I just had tremendous respect for that. And I didn't like just take it as, oh, okay, yeah, like another post-game interview or whatever the case may be. So my respect to Mazulla for that. And definitely salute to his shirt. But first, let me thank God, him not being afraid to, show his faith. And acknowledge, like, the Most High is the head of his life, man. So like, I definitely like salute and respect that as well, man. So shout out to the Boston Celtics, man. Yeah, the Boston Celtics went up in this series 3-0, and obviously the Dallas Mavericks weren't able to come back. But now teams who start off in a series 0-3 in the NBA playoffs, they have now fallen to 0-157. And so yeah, teams who trail by 3 games or start off 3-0, teams who start off 0-3 in a playoff series have never come back to win the series within 157 series that have been played throughout the NBA playoffs, man. So yeah, man. Shout out to the Boston Celtics, man. Shout out to the Boston Celtics, dog. And now, one could argue the moment some of y'all have all been waiting for. Doing good on time. Like I said, we're gonna be here for a good time, not a long time. So let's go ahead and talk about this. And I understand if I make some people mad and I piss some people off, but if you're not an avid WNBA watcher, if you don't love the game like I do, if you don't got WNBA League Pass like I do, and you feel some type of way about these comments that I'm about to make, go argue with somebody who don't like to hear you talk. All right. Connecticut Sun. The Connecticut Sun are at best, as it stands of June 22nd, at best the Connecticut Sun is the 6th best team in the WNBA, even though they have the best record in the WNBA. Okay? They have a 13-2 record, which is number 1 in terms of the standings, but I got them as the 6th best team right now. My rankings as of June 22nd. Number 1, I got the Liberty. Number 2, I got the Lynx. Number 3, I got the Aces. 4, I got Mercury. 5, I got the Seattle Storm. And 6, I got the Connecticut Sun. Like I said, I could understand why some people may feel slighted or disrespected, but I also feel like if you're truly watching the game, and I ain't just saying the games that are broadcasted, just paying attention to all the games, you feel me? The Connecticut Sun they have played the most teams below 500. They've played out of their 15 games, 11 of those games have been against teams that are below 500, right? And they're 11-0. So get them credit for beating teams that they're supposed to beat. Cool, bet. But those ain't teams that you're going to have to deal with and see in the playoffs. And that's what I'm basing these rankings off of, based off who can you possibly beat or lose to within a 3-game or 5-game series, right? And they're 13 with their 13-2 record, 11 games below teams of 500, and then you got 4 games with teams above 500. With those 4 games of versus teams that are above 500, they're 2-2. And those 2 losses are against the Aces, who didn't even have Chelsea Gray. And the other loss was to the New York Liberty. You're not beating the Liberty in a best of 3, and if you can't beat the Aces in a best of 3 without Chelsea Gray, you damn sure not gonna beat them with Chelsea Gray, and Chelsea Gray has returned. And since Chelsea Gray has returned, the Aces are 2-0 with Chelsea Gray being back. Granted, she's coming off the bench, but nonetheless, her debut versus the Storm, she played 15 minutes and had 7 assists. So that just goes to speak to Chelsea Gray's immediate impact and being back on the team. And this is her coming off the bench. The Aces are only going to get better with time as Chelsea Gray continues to get her legs up under her and gets more confident coming back from her leg injury, right? Then the Lynx. The Lynx, you've only beat them once. And when you did beat them, you beat them by 1 point in overtime. And so the reason I like the Lynx, I put the Lynx up there is because the Lynx got a win against the Aces. They got a win against the Storm. As a matter of fact, they didn't 3-0 the Storm with the Lynx. So shout out to Nafisha Collier, McBride, and Elena Smith, and and also too Courtney Williams, and like what they building over there. That acquisition of Courtney Williams, I think, is like huge for them with how she goes about facilitating and playing defense. And it's also even better because Nafisha Collier was doing what she's doing this season. She was doing last year, however, because they were not a top tier team, it tended to get overlooked. But now it's great to see that she's still playing at a high level, and it's being rewarded with her having great pieces around her, and it's translating to winning. Right. So again, the Lynx, they beat the Liberty, Aces, and the Storm. The Aces. And this is without, well, the Aces have beat the Storm, the Sun, the Lynx, and the Mercury. They lost to the Liberty, however. And so when you look at like who these other teams that are above the Connecticut Sun in terms of top tier teams, they have beat the other top tier teams, right? And they have had a far tougher schedule than the Connecticut Sun. And it really just comes down to, even if you don't want to try to evaluate who won, who beat, like, bro, y'all just got the Sun, the Connecticut Sun just got a weak ass schedule, bro. They just simple and plain. They got a weak ass schedule, bro. They done played the Fever 3 times, the Wings twice, the Mystics twice. The Fever right now, low key, and we'll talk about it later. The Fever low key a playoff team right now, but the Wings, horrific injury luck right now to start off the season. The Mystics, worst team in the league, right? Then the Sky, they below 500, and then you done beat the Sparks, who ain't that great, and the Dream, who ain't that great either. Like, y'all had a easy ass schedule. Like, there's no way around it. And we can't get lost up in like, oh, they 13-2, oh, they started off the season 10-0. It's like, well, shit, playing those teams, I hope you started off 9-0, 10-0, right? And they have the record. They're one of 6 or 7 teams in the WNBA history to start off like 9-0 or 10-0 or like 10-1, 11-1 or something like that. And of those teams that have, had those hot starts to the season, 9-0, 10-0, whatever, they've at least made it to the NBA Finals. They've either made it to the finals or they won the championship. If, as of today, if damn Aces don't have to knock out the Liberty, I would argue that the Sun not even going to the NBA Finals this year. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, shall we? I talked about this on the first episode, right? These other teams too, like the Liberty, they got a mismatch every way. They got people who can create offense on their own. The Lynx, they got players who can create offense on their own. The Aces, they got players who can create offense on their own. Mercury, you got Diana Taurasi, you got Brittany Griner, you got a superstar this year in Kalia Copper, like, can create on their own. Storm, Diggins, you got Jewel, you got Naka, can create on their own. Shout out to you too, Izzy. You know what I'm saying? Then the Sun, who can create on their own outside of Bonner on a consistent basis that has been shown. I'll wait. Still need some time. And so, like, with the way the Sun offense is set up, bro, it's a heavy DHO offense, dribble handoff action. And if most outside of Bonner, bro, the way the offense is constructed, everybody got to get spoon fed by Alyssa Thomas. You watched the game against the Aces last night. When you got decent defenders in every spot, and you can't just sit there and dribble handoff, or they're fighting you and disrupting your offense because they're not letting you get a smooth dribble handoff, they're gonna struggle. Also, too, while they do have a good defense, y'all would have a great defense when y'all playing 11 teams on y'all schedule that's below 500. Your defense would say you're top tier, right? When you playing those types of teams, when you have they play at a slow pace. So let's start there. When it comes time when they're trailing against these teams and they may be down 20 or maybe down 15 or whatever, and it may be 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, in order to make a run, you have to play at a faster pace. I don't believe that that's the makeup of their game unless they're getting like in transition turnovers and they're able to quickly score. But outside of that, their offensive rhythm is slow. And I just don't, their offensive rhythm is slow. And Alyssa Thomas has to feed everybody more times than not outside of DeWanna Bonner. The way their team is constructed, the way the offense is constructed, I think it's not a championship team. I'll say this, put me on record, they won't win the championship this year. They will not win the championship this year, barring injury to other teams with the way this team is currently constructed. I said last week, I feel like Alyssa Thomas, because she's has the ball in her hand most of the time, she should lean towards maybe trying to score more. But I retract that statement because watching them more, I see that Alyssa Thomas' superpower is her playmaking ability, her facilitating ability. And I think if she would lean towards trying to score more, outside of the fact, with her shoulder injuries and her like shooting the ball a very unorthodox way, outside of that, I think if you tried to ask her to score more, right, you would take away from her true superpower, which again is her playmaking. So in retracting that statement, saying that she needs to score more, I would say I would delegate that responsibility towards Bonner. I believe Bonner is averaging like 18, 19 points a game. I think Bonner needs to get up there to maybe 25, maybe, if possible, if they can find a way to, structure that offense to where it doesn't have to be so Alyssa Thomas eccentric in terms of like playmaking. And I believe that Dejanay Carrington also could shoulder some of that responsibility as a scorer. I know she's already asked to do a whole lot in terms of her scoring ability. I mean, in terms of her defense and having to always guard the best player out there on defense on a night-to-night basis. I know she's asked to do a lot from their regard, but I wouldn't also look to have her shoulder that scoring responsibility, being a superb two-way player on offense and defense, if I didn't think that she was capable of doing so. So yeah, man. The Sun gonna have to figure it out because they don't get trapped in what their record is. They are not an elite top team defense compared to your Liberties and what the Aces are developing to with having Chelsea Gray back. But the potential of the Lynx and what the Storm have and what they're trying to develop. Here's the other thing too. Let's give some respects to the Mercury. The Mercury are the only team currently right now, as of June 22nd, to have wins over the Liberty, Aces, the Lynx, and the Storm. So they got 4 wins over, these top tier teams. They got 4 wins over teams above 500. And I believe in a playoff stretch, they could upset somebody. Who, I don't know, but I think they could definitely upset somebody. Kalia Copper been balling, having a career high year with the points that she's been averaging, and so and then you got Diana Taurasi. And then I think a big addition to them as of lately, is been Brittany Griner. Her coming back from her injury, she's looking like she hasn't missed a beat. Doesn't look like the injury is something that's nagging her or like causing her to be on a minutes restriction or having her to like not play at her fullest capability. But what Brittany Griner has been doing is been looking real great. So just real quick respects to the Phoenix Mercury. Brittany Griner averaging 21.7 rebounds. And Copper, like I said, she's having her a career high, averaging 23 points per game. So big time respects to the Phoenix Mercury. I would even put the Phoenix Mercury above, which I did in my rankings. but yeah, the Sun, they're not that hot, bro. Don't believe the cap. Their record is capped. It's soft as hell to start off the season, and that only makes me even more scared because at some point their schedule should get tougher. Yeah, but that's that on the Connecticut Sun, and like I say, go argue with somebody who don't like to hear you talk. Ricky Watch, man. Ricky Watch. For the Ricky Watch, man, shout out to Angel Reese, bro. Angel Reese set a rookie record for the most consecutive double doubles by a rookie. That being Angel Reese again. She's averaging 12 points and 10 rebounds, and I can't wait to see how much further, how far out she takes this record and just solidifying her name in the WNBA books. And so that's gonna be cool to see for Kaylin. I'm not, excuse me, not Kaylin Clark. Oh, I know y'all mad with that one. That's gonna be cool to see with Angel Reese. Also, too, unfortunate injury for Cameron Brink forward for the LA Sparks. She injures her knee, torn ACL. Obviously, she's out indefinitely for the year. You hate to see that as a rookie like her at one point averaging 3 blocks per game, and leading the lead at early to start off the season in blocks per game. But she's averaging 7 points, 5 rebounds, and those 3 blocks as her season comes to an end with only 15 games in. And it's just, apart from it sucking because of like the injury, like you want to you want your rookies to like develop as quick as they can and like get all the chemistry that they need. But that just sucks because now you got this injury, and with the injury, you gotta rehab and like you gotta build your mental confidence and fortitude back up to like want to be out there on the court, right? And like that's gonna be a tough thing to get through, but you definitely hope that Cameron Brink could bounce back from it. If you want to try to seek some silver lining, you got 2 rookies and Rakia Jackson who averaging 10 points per game, right? So with Brink being out, maybe she gets more minutes. And on top of like the Sparks, they're not great. They're not probably not gonna make the playoffs, even though I know it's still early, but like they haven't shown signs that they're really gonna be of like any threat. You could argue that like you got 2 high drafted rookies, and you got Hamby, like kind of a development year, right? So though Hamby is out, hopefully Rakia Jackson can step up with maybe boosted minutes and like continue to develop and enhance her game. And so So yeah, nah, man, you hate to see that for Bryant, but definitely wishing her a speedy recovery and for her to bounce back, real soon next season, hopefully. Um, Also too, talking about growing the game now, still like yeah, talk about growing the game, right? So this week the WNBA saw some cool NBA history that will point to the game is growing, right? So the Aces were the first team this season. Excuse me, not this season. The Aces were the first team in WNBA history to sell out all of their home games, right? They sold out all of their home games. This has never been done. So salute to the Aces in that. Then you had the Atlanta Dream. They set a franchise record for most fans in attendance for a home game. They had to move their home game to the Phillips Arena where the Atlanta Hawks play because there was a special player who came into town. That being Caitlin Clark, and the Dream set their franchise record of home attendance at 17,500 plus fans in attendance. So that's again, that's a pointed sign to growth of the game. And then Kaylin Clark and Angel Reese, they met up for the second time this WNBA season, and their numbers when they met up for the second time this season, they had 2.25 million viewers on average. And that supersedes their 1.53 million when they first met. So you kind of see this upward trend with like, okay, it's at 1.5. Oh shit, they just jumped up to 2.2, right? And I think a big reason it jumped up to 2.2 is because like obviously Kennedy Carter and Caitlin Clark getting into it. And I think that fueled us to be like, oh, I can't wait for game two, bro. I cannot wait for game two when they play again. And that game, like it didn't disappoint. It did not disappoint as the numbers showed. But I want to say this, just just an observation in this game, right? I know there's you got your casual fans, you got your Caitlin Clark fans, you got your Team Angel Reese fans, and everybody want to pick a side and so on and so forth. But check this out, and I know everybody who made. I truly enjoy like good hoop. I think Angel Reese's game has like truly has one could argue gracefully like easily transferred over to the WNBA. I think Caitlin Clark has been absolutely great as she's been like advertised. Um, uh, and so with that being said, I understand how the Angel Reese crew could like feel some type of way about the Caitlin Clark crew or whatever the case may be, but numbers don't lie. All right, whether or not you like Caitlin Clark, whether or not you like the Fever, the Chicago Sky have yet to beat the Fever this season. In a head-to-head match, Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese, however you want to do it, say it. Caitlin Clark is up 2-0 on Angel Reese. The Indiana Fever are up 2-0 on the Chicago Sky this season. And to be honest with you, going into game two, I really, 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 really thought that the Chicago Sky were going to win that game. I felt like they were going to come into that game with a point to prove. Since all the attention and all the publicity has went towards Caitlin Clark, and they didn't been saying what they saying she and all that, and this, that, and the fourth. Caitlin Clark saying she want her credit too. I thought they was gonna come out there putting foot to ass, trying to prove a point to be like, yo, like chill out with all the Caitlin Clark noise. Like we're here too. Like we got something to say. That did not happen. Caitlin Clark hit y'all for 23, 8, and 9. So, like, can y'all stop her or not? like, oh man, like Caitlin Clark is good as televised, bro. I love her game. I think her game is spectacular. Um, uh, and shout out to Coach Teaspoon, bro. This is what I think you did, or you and the coaching staff did wrong in game two. I think because of all the noise, all the pent up animosity and aggression, I think you elected not to put Kennedy Carter on Caitlin Clark because maybe you didn't want it to get too physical. You didn't feel like you was feeding into like the media frenzy. Or maybe you feel like, hey, you want to protect her. You want to protect her from getting in foul trouble. So you elect to put her on Kelsey Mitchell. I think I think that's not a great choice. I understand Kelsey Mitchell is a certified bucket. We understand that. But I think you have to put your dog on her. I think you have to use your dog, and that being Kennedy Carter and how tenacious she is on defense. And I think you have to put her on Caitlin Clark. Why? Because I believe Caitlin Clark is the head of the snake of the Indiana Fever. And I say that because not because of Caitlin Clark's scoring ability, but really because of her playmaking ability. And that's what makes her so great. That's what makes her the head of the snake because Caitlin Clark could struggle to score the basketball, but she could still find a way to get 8 boards and 9 assists, right? However, if you put somebody like Kennedy Carter on Caitlin Clark and you got Kennedy guarding her full court, not letting Caitlin bring the ball up, you're disrupting, I believe, the Indiana Fever offense more than you know. Because if you harassing Caitlin Clark, she's not on the ball, you're taking away her playmaking, you're forcing her teammates to have to figure out the offense without her, for like short spurts within the shot clock. And so going into game 3, if you want to win, if you don't want to see the posts from Sports Center and so on and so forth that Caitlin Clark or the Indiana Fever are now 3-0 versus Angel Reese, you gotta put Kennedy Carter on Caitlin Clark because that will serve the most chaos to the Indiana Fever's offense. Allowing Caitlin Clark to come like you had Marina Mabry on her, like stop it. No, like you, Marina, but like let's not do that. Like she's not supposed to stop Caitlin Clark. It's not happening. It is not happening. You hear me? So had a conversation before the game. Hey, Kennedy Carter, we want you to guard her, be smart, don't get in foul trouble early because we need you to harass her and take her off the ball so we can disrupt their offense. You do that, and I think y'all gonna win tomorrow. But if you don't, if you come out there being cute, not wanting to, just like meet that tension, if you want to call it tension, and just like allow Kennedy to compete with Caitlin, if you have her shine away, having her guard Kelsey, that's gonna burn y'all. And y'all gonna go down 3. Y'all gonna be 0-3 versus Caitlin Clark in the Indiana Fever to start off this season fairly early, man. If you pay attention to how this rundown of the show went, right? We started with JJ Redick, NBA offseason, NBA Finals recap, and then we got to the WNBA, right? That was a little bit of foreshadowing, if you will, for what's to come if the WNBA doesn't find a way to get Caitlin Clark on this Olympic team. I said it last week and I continue to say it, so it's not brand new. So it's something that you also, the audience who are tuned in, can pay attention to, right? You have to continue to grow the game. With all the numbers and the stats that I've shown, we see this game appears to be growing, it's getting the attention, it's getting the notoriety that it should be getting. Even now, you had 6 networks set records for most watched WNBA games ever. And now last week, Caitlin Clark was a part of 5 or 6 of those games, right? But now she's a part of all 6 of those networks who set records for the most views they've had on the WNBA game being broadcasted from their network, right? And so those numbers show that Caitlin Clark is a part of the growth. It shows that she's a part of the vast majority growth of these WNBA games being watched. You still don't have her on your WNBA team. And now we are going into the WNBA offseason, which has already started off with a boom of JJ Redick being the head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers. And the NBA Finals has passed us, and you still got a chance for the Olympics, but hear me clearly. The WNBA attention span is going to diminish if Caitlin Clark doesn't go to the Olympics. The Olympics start July 7th. Well, the WNBA goes on break for the Olympics on July 17th, and they don't start back up for a whole nother month on August 17th. So the WNBA is going to be at a complete halt for a whole month. In that time, you're going to continue to have NBA offseason. You're going to continue to have the Olympics. You're going to have college football and that whole with realignment and teams being in different conferences. That's going to be mayhem. And then you're going to have NFL training camp getting ready to brew. You add up all of those things, throw baseball in there if you want to, and not having Caitlin Clark at the Olympics, the WNBA is going to be forgotten about. And when they start back up in August, after taking off a month in the middle of July, if you feel like that viewership isn't quite the same, it may have something to do with the fact that you didn't take Caitlin Clark over to the Olympics with you. So just want to put that out there. And if you're listening to this, WNBA or Olympic Committee, I'm giving y'all a fair warning. Y'all are going to kill all of y'all momentum and y'all hype that y'all have if you don't bring Caitlin over to the Olympics with you. I don't believe that y'all can withstand a month-long break and still be able to overcome NBA offseason, college football, Olympics, Olympic competition, maybe baseball, and like I said, college football and NFL getting ready to start up in the middle of August. Don't do it to yourself, WNBA. Don't do it to yourself, man. Yeah. And so WNBA All-Star season has WNBA All-Star voting has kicked off. And speaking about a Caitlin Clark and her pool, to start off the WNBA All-Star voting, Caitlin Clark has received the second most votes for WNBA All-Star behind the #1 player in the league being A'ja Wilson. So WNBA, all signs were saying Caitlin Clark can help y'all continue to grow this game. So yeah, man. Your top 10 players selected right now who have the most votes for the WNBA All-Star. You got A'ja Wilson at 1, Caitlin Clark at 2, Aaliyah Boston at 3, Breanna Stewart with the 4th most votes, Arike Ogunbowale with the 5th most, Sabrina at 6, Angelisa at 7, Kelsey Plum at 8, Nafisha Collier at 9, and De'Erica Hamby at 10. I really love the fact that De'Erica Hamby is in there. Her team isn't great, but she's been doing all she can balling for them. Somebody in this list that I hate that I do not see in this on this list in terms of top 10 votes for All-Star is Kalia Copper. It's a travesty. Though I understand to a degree WNBA any All-Star is based off popularity, but damn, dog, like the WNBA All-Star weekend is in Phoenix this year, bro. Like Kalia Copper should be top 10 in this list that just came out. But beautiful people, under an hour on the episode. I'm gonna try my best to keep it that way. I told you we was gonna be here for a good time, not a long time. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think about the takes in the comments. Also, too, make sure y'all go follow at Respect the Game Podcast. Shout out to my brothers, Sean Hart, Izzo, Sedacious, and Black Peace. Yeah, man, this Emcstats show is going to be something great. It's going to be something monumental. And if you truly love the show, or just like the show, and it's helping you get through your day, your commute, your workout, whatever, just let me know, man. I really appreciate the encouragement to keep pushing. Love you, beautiful people. This is the Emcstats show. I will see you next week.